Okay, we are live, but we're going to let it breathe just for a moment. Let it breathe. Get that precious O2 saturation running through our system here. I mean, we are mile high, Huddle. Air gets a little thin, but let's bring these meta people in here. Whoa. All right. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. It is a gut reaction. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. And Zack, what are we reacting to? The reign of the Chiefs has come careening and crashing to an end in what I would say I would describe, Zack, as humiliating fashion. Yeah,
Yep.
they threw a couple of garbage time scores up, but the Philadelphia Eagles utterly manhandled and dominated the Chiefs. A huge, I don't know when the last time there was a Super Bowl blowout this big, but your gut reaction to the three-peat ain't happening.
I want to first say thank you to Vic Fangio, who made this all possible, Chad. Without him, none of this is happening. So his defensive scheme was good in Denver against Mahomes, and he had a great game plan today for the Super Bowl. Cooper DeJean with the pick six, an interception by Zach Bond, who we both want the Broncos to go after in free agency if he leaves Philadelphia. So I am elated, as you can tell, Chad. It was a very exciting game to watch if you're a Broncos fan or someone who covers the Broncos or someone who doesn't like the Chiefs, and that covers about 95% of the country. So best Super Bowl since Super Bowl 50. I'm on cloud nine right now.
Honestly, I think it's the best thing for the NFL. I think the NFL at large had long grown sick of the Chiefs. I mean, it was one thing. They did a great job during the broadcast illustrating just how dominant this team has been since 2018. But after winning two in a row and then just finding every little witch escape hatch there could possibly be in all those games this season. I mean, what was the stat? I forget now. 9 games, single score games. They won them all. Like unbelievable. And then they lost, they did have the one loss or whatever. And then of course the Broncos loss doesn't really count. But NFL was sick of these guys, Zack, and all of the refereeing tropes, and just it's one of those things where too much, and I'm taking the Bronco fan thing out of it. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, and I think this is a good kind of let's get it out of the system. We're exercising that Chiefs demon, and Broncos country and the NFL now can move on.
It's really funny that you bring that up. I was talking about this earlier, is that the Chiefs fatigue is real in the NFL, Chat. I can't tell you how many people that I know did not watch the Super Bowl or did not care this year because it was like, oh, the Chiefs are going to win again. Here we go. It's the same old script. But the NFL was aware of this, Chad, and it's good for their long-term viability that Philadelphia won and the Chiefs can come back, maybe run it back and have the heel angle, us against the world, and we're coming for redemption. But people were sick of it to the point where their own refereeing association had to address the conspiracy allegations and the collusion allegations. So this kind of will tamp that down for the league, and we go on with the Philadelphia Eagles as the world champs.
And again, big congrats to Nick Sirianni and the entire Philadelphia Eagles organization. One hell of a season, and
Yep.
thank you for handling the Chiefs when the chips were down on the ultimate stage. Not only did you handle them, but you curb stomped them. It was retribution for them as well because, they're evening the scales from 2 years ago. David Youngkin, thank you for the super chat, big dog. And guys, we want to hear your thoughts, your reactions. Get it in the chat. Throw down the supers. Let's hear it. Let's celebrate this momentous evening. All right. David Youngkin, brother, thank you. Was not going to watch the game, but that is what I get for having an 80-inch TV. Damn. Had 10 next door neighbors come over. All Chiefs fans. Geez, where do you live, bro? I'm not sure. I don't think I know where you live, but that sounds like a treacherous sector to live, a sketchy neck of the woods. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to be surrounded by Chiefs fans all the time, Zack. So I feel for David, but hey, it's a good night. Celebrate.
Yeah, if there was one night where it would be tonight. I hope you talked your crap, David, and kind of stuck it to him. We haven't gotten these opportunities very much over the last 5 years or so, but tonight's a good night for all in Broncos country.
We've got another David near and dear to our hearts, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, checking in with a generous super chat. Thank you, bro. Saying outstanding. Hashtag God bless the USA. Let's go, Bo. I think it's it's a harbinger, you guys. It's a harbinger. We'll talk more about it as the show goes on. It's an omen. All right. Taylor Christensen also checking in with the super. Thank you, bro. Says today is a great day, fellas. Now it's our turn. Next year is our year. I'm calling it right now. Let's go Broncos. I'm predicting at least 13 wins. I love it, dude. It could be a changing of the guard. I published an article yesterday. I'll pull it up so I can maybe grab the link or the quotes here. But Peter Schrager, he's saying, no. Broncos aren't close to the Chiefs yet. Yeah, he kind of contradicted himself. I can maybe read some of what he said in a little while. But his main takeaway was, I trust Sean Payton's got him going in the right direction, but they're 2 years out, basically. They're not a year away, meaning it ain't going to be this coming season, but the next that you'll see the Broncos really give the Chiefs a run for their money and bridge the gap, close the gap, whatever you want to call it. I don't think so, man. I think the Broncos, a couple of roster tweaks based on what we saw from Bo Nix and what we've seen Zach head-to-head against the Chiefs. I don't think they're that far out.
Exactly. Yeah, they beat him in 2023. They should have beaten him earlier this year in Kansas City, if not for Alex Forsythe, Chad. And they beat their backups, as we know. So Peter Schrager, to that, and we'll get to GLP in a second, he was the only one of the national media types that I heard that was saying that said they were 2 years away. They're not that close. Every other national media talking head or analyst believes that the gap is not that wide, is that the Broncos are closing it with Bo Nix and Sean Payton now in charge.
We shall see. We'll talk more and more about that tonight. But the GLP, Gary Palmer in the house. Thank you, brother, for the super. And he's just like, listen, man, no three-peat. That's what I'm saying. Makes me happy. Exactly. They're not trailblazing, Zach, any new real estate in the NFL annals, The Ronk, brother, thank you. Says, good late evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Zach, the Chiefs do now have the most Lombardis in the division, which sucks. I hate that. I hate even uttering it. But it's kind of like when you say, oh, the night is young. It's a young period for the Broncos because Bo Nix is just getting started. Sean Payton's here for the long haul. There's a lot to look forward to.
And on the opposite token, Travis Kelce's not getting any younger. He might, this might be the last game for him. Patrick Mahomes is not getting any younger or cheaper for that matter. Andy Reid is not getting any younger. So the window in the NFL, even if you're a dynasty, even if you have the best quarterback on the planet, it slowly does close over time. It doesn't last forever. And the Broncos have to make sure that they can open their window at the same time, which we both believe they're doing.
Thank you, Ron. Great to see you, bro. And have they announced the MVP yet? Because I've had it on mute since.
I haven't
seen it yet. Who do you think should be the MVP?
It's going to be Jaylen, probably. Quarterback usually gets it. He had a good game, too.
He did. Patriot Tex. Whoa, thank you, brother. Generous super. Says, finally, Chiefs boat raced in a fair game. Congrats to Vic Fangio for a great game. Some guys are meant to be assistants. Now, our Broncos need to load up and go get those Chiefs. Broncos country says, thanks to Philly. MHH for life. Let's go. Well, it's like I was explaining to a friend of mine while we were watching the game. I'm like, Vic Fangio, he never had a quarterback in Denver. Some of it was his own fault, but I digress. The one thing he did is he wasn't able to beat the Chiefs. He lost every head-to-head that he had against the Chiefs, but he would always limit Patrick Mahomes, and it'd be like one of their worst statistical games and scoring games of the season. And the Broncos under Fangio got close twice. There were two like real close ones, but everybody went, that's how you limit Patrick Mahomes, and everybody went around trying to hire up Fangio assistants, right? We saw it like it was a trendy thing to do. Even though the Broncos were a sub 500 team, everyone was trying to hire up Fangio assistants, and now you see why.
The thing, though, with Fangio coach defenses with the Broncos against Kansas City is that, Chad, like, he would limit them, but ultimately Mahomes would get the last laugh or whatever. And, yeah, you can blame the quarterback, but the defense under Fangio just did not have those statement drives. They don't have those statement games. I give Fangio credit tonight because this was a statement game for him. They were on their throats from the opening whistle. They did not let up. It wasn't just a win or a victory. It was an absolute ass spanking, Chad. Point blank.
It really was, man. George Fox, this was a great game. KC just got walked all over. I love it. Broncos for life, MHH for life. I did too, man. I don't know what it is. I just can't stand. I respect it. It's like you guys have heard me use the little anecdote, funny little scene from Get Him to the Greek where, it's a hateful respect. I respect him in the same kind of way, Zach, I felt about Tom Brady in the heyday, that 4-year stretch when Peyton was here. But I like to see him suffer a little bit. It's a rare opportunity, Zach. Suffering's good for the soul, though. So they say. And chin up, Pat. There's always next year.
If this was the reverse, if the Broncos were the dynasty, you'd best believe Chiefs fans would be celebrating the Denver downfall tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And as much as Mahomes gets the credit and the heroic lore and the lavish praise, to see the crying shots on the sideline, the slow mo, the dejection. Excuse me, I can't talk tonight. That makes it so rewarding for those of us who are not Chiefs fans.
Colby says, wanted a shutout, but I'll take it. Best Super Bowl since 50. Will the Chiefs continue to pay the refs next year? We shall see. I know, dude. There was a part of me I'm going, wow, is Fangio going to pitch a shutout against the Chiefs? I mean, how remarkable would that be in the Super Bowl? But they turned it on a little bit in the second half, just enough to break the ice. But the Eagles didn't stop. That was the good thing. Eagles kept rolling offensively enough to basically keep that first touchdown the Chiefs got as a meaningless gesture. Then they got a couple of garbage time scores. But even then, the garbage time, I can call it garbage time, but it's another example of in the critical moments when the chips are down, that's when you see the best out of Mahomes. He's got that clutch gene. You got to give it to him. Today, though, too little, too late, my dog.
I love what Nick Sirianni dialed up late in the game where they could have bled the clock, but instead they go for the long dagger touchdown to Devontae Smith. I love aggressive coaching like that, Chad. We talked about it with Sean Payton. And on the defensive side of the ball, it reminded me a lot of 2007 Giants and Patriots. Tom Brady didn't just have a bad game. He had one of his worst games where he was under fire almost every single snap. There was never a chance really for Mahomes to get it going in non-garbage time because the the Philadelphia pressure was just too much.
So much more to get to, guys, but real quick, listen up. All right. Football season is in the books, but we now look forward to, at least a lot of you I know do, the basketball season continuing. March Madness will be coming up here very soon. When your favorite star scores a bucket, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Underdog, one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? Well, listen, you can with Underdog.
To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats like points, assists, rebounds, and more. Underdog's got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Create entries with all basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge.
Hey, listen, we've been doing Underdog now for a couple of months, and there's a reason why. I love Underdog. It's a lot of fun, can make a buck or two. Check it out right now. Go to the App Store, download the Underdog app, sign up now using our code MHUDDLE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with our promo code MHUDDLE. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit.
Must be 18 plus and 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado. For some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
It is cool to see Fangio finally get that ring, dude. Chris Hernandez, brother. Slow clap. Right there with you, big dog. Fangio put together a perfect defensive game plan. It was beautiful to watch. On to the Broncos, offseason. Hey, thank you, bro. And that's one of the Fangio calling cards, or at least when his scheme is working the way he likes it to work, is he's able to play coverage because the four guys rushing are able to get the pressure. Like, unlike VJ, who he doesn't have to look. There's Fangio on stage now. It's really cool. Unlike VJ, where he doesn't necessarily have to Zach throw numbers and blitz all the time. He likes to. It's part of his philosophy. Fangio, he's got a little bit of an aversion to it, and you saw him stick to that tonight because those four guys were able to get pressure, and the coverage was just excellent. Mahomes was holding on to the ball, wasn't trusting what he was seeing. It was a beautiful thing to behold.
Yeah, pretty well said. I can't add much other than I mentioned Zach Bond earlier. You said coverage. Well, his coverage ability, Chad, sideline to sideline range. I watch other teams with these dynamic inside linebackers, and I say, man, I want that guy in a Broncos uniform. He is going to be a free agent. He might get it back from Philly, but I love what he did tonight, Chad. He was instrumental.
You know what Wade Phillips and Vic Fangio have in common besides the fact that they weren't able to really cut it as head coaches, but they finally got a ring as coordinators, is they were able to look really, really smart because their guys could get pressure with 4. If you think back even to that Super Bowl 50, it wasn't blitzing. It was Vaughn and Ware just turning the corner at Wolf and Jackson collapsing from the inside. It was so synergistic. Different style of defense, obviously, but they have that in common. I agree, Mr. Producer. Getting pressure with 4 players makes all DCs look smart.
Absolutely. David Youngkin, 499 Super. Thank you so much, David. He's clarifying he lives in Florida and talks so much crap. I am happy to hear that. I hope you're reveling with us tonight, David, in the Kansas City Super Bowl loss.
It's like it's the phenomenon of the fair weather fans, right? Like, oh, this is the dominant team or player in the moment. That's who I'm a fan of. I can't stand people like that, frankly. And that's nothing to do with, I'm not going to tell you how to fan. I'm saying, if you're that kind of a fan of sports, I don't relate to you. I'm about the loyalty, the whole thing. I had a kid I knew in high school that was like that went on, back then. He grew up, let me just put it this way. He grew up nowhere near New Orleans, nowhere near Tennessee, and nowhere near Indianapolis. Can you guess who his favorite team was, Zach?
Cowboys?
Nope. Indianapolis Colts. When it was at the heyday of the Peyton thing, neck injuries coming down. Zach, what's up, dude? Thank you for the comment and the stars. Has been a long time watcher. Well, welcome, big dog. Glad to hear you sounding off. So hashtag Broncos country for life. I live an hour from KC, and nothing better than watching them get spanked. 40 shots deep for 40 points scored by Philly. He's feeling it tonight, huh, Zach? Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's go. What a wonder night. It's like a wonder wall. It's a wonder night. I love it, dude. Thank you. Appreciate you, big dog.
If you're not exaggerating, I'm very impressed that you're able to type coherent sentences 40 shots deep, but we're all celebrating tonight, so appreciate your contribution.
You must be a professional, my friend. Phil jumping in. Good to see you, brother. Saying, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. So sweet to see KC go down with a real whipping. Hashtag Buckham MHH for life, Broncos for life. Indeed. It's one of those things. Savor it. The tears, cry more, Chiefs Kingdom. We'll savor it, salt the earth, Zach, with Chiefs Kingdom tears right now. You didn't get the three-peat. Your team looked lame. Mahomes was totally dealt with. Soak it in. Mr. Rocket, thank you, brother. Great to hear from you on Super Chat saying trenches. The Broncos need playmakers, but man, if they build the D-line even more, it'll be deadly, and we saw what that can do. True. Good point there, Zach.
It is, yeah, especially with DJ Jones heading for free agency. And we saw what the acquisitions of Zach Allen, JFM, Malcolm Roach brought to the Broncos. I can't tell you, Chad, how many times I mentioned how night and day different the defensive line looked last season. So it's a sneaky option in the first round. If they don't have their guy on the board or if they move down, they might really stack up the D-line and head in that direction. And I got to tell you, Chad, if they did go that way, wouldn't be my first choice, but I could definitely understand the logic behind it.
Hey, shouts to Real Rob on Instagram. Chiefs reign is over. Broncos loading. ... Love that. From Caliando. Chiefs got smashed. Nick Wright is crying. Oh, I'm sure he is. Colby jumping in again. Thank you, Triple C, saying this is crazy. I really thought if the Eagles won, it would be because Saquon got 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and he really didn't do anything. I wouldn't say he really didn't do anything, but he wasn't the reason per se that they came out on top. But just for craps and giggles, he finished with 57 yards on 25 carries. I didn't realize he toted it that much, Zach. So 57 yards for Saquon, 25 carries. That's 2.3 yards per tote. And he caught 6 passes for 40 yards. So they did a good job. That Chiefs defense, dude, it's good. We saw it in Week 10. It's good, Zach.
Nick Bolton, the Chiefs inside linebacker, is a free agent. And again, He might stay with his incumbent team, just like Zach Bond, but if he gets to the open market, I would not mind the Broncos making a very competitive offer for his services. And Chad, maybe I can speak for you here. I thought Philadelphia would win this game. Even 2 weeks ago, I just had a feeling. Maybe you didn't, but I didn't think that it would be a blowout, number one, and I didn't think, as Colby said, it was Saquon not really being the star of the show.
Indeed. Jason Kopp jumping in. What's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat, big dog. Says, I think KC forgot to send that wire transfer to the refs. KC is no longer at the top of the AFC starting now. Broncos will win the division next year. Well, listen, there are going to be a lot of lessons that NFL opponents are going to learn from this tape and what Fangio did to totally and utterly smother / confound Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And hopefully Vance Joseph was paying a little bit of attention there too, Zach.
Yeah, it's you got to have the offensive weaponry, though, because we talk about surrounding a young quarterback, Chad, with the proper weapons. A.J. Brown had a huge game today, but I mentioned the dagger earlier. He has Devontae Smith, too, at receiver. He has Dallas Goedert at tight end, DeAndre Swift at running back. So it showed to me, again, that you can have a dominant defense, but the game is played on both sides. And I always go back to the Bo Nix angle this offseason. Get Bo Nix the same amount of weaponry. Make, what the Philadelphia Eagles won with tonight, or partly make that a reality for Bo Nix in Denver.
So did they officially announce who the MVP was? I'm just curious.
Jaylen got it.
He did get it. So yeah. Jaylen on the night, 17 of 22 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and then of course he had those super valuable 72 rush yards and another touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns from Hurts, and I thought the broadcast did a good job of kind of conveying how underappreciated he's been as a quarterback throughout his late collegiate career, and then even the success that he's had. He's been successful. He's gotten paid. He's got accolades, and yet he's never really mentioned up there, right, with the elite. And I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. He's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but this dude, I'm just really happy to see him get that success, because I'm old enough to remember, and then we'll get the next one here. I'm old enough to remember how long-suffering the Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid era of the Philadelphia Eagles were, back in the early 2000s. And what was it, 3 or 4 straight NFC title games? Lost every one till the last one. They finally get in, and that's that weird game where you got T.O. doing his thing. He was playing injured. Yeah, Donovan McNabb like barfing in the huddle, like weird vibes. Didn't work out. But Zach says, I was coherent until I tried to spell wonderful. But yes, I've had 40 shots. Dude, you are a gangster. We do not condone this, boys and girls. We do not condone this. But hey, it is Super Bowl Sunday. And Broncos country, Zach, does have, like Zach said here, something to celebrate.
I'm so glad you brought up the Jaylen Hurts thing. I was talking about that earlier, and it's crazy that he never gets mentioned in the same Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow conversation, the same tier, but I consider him to be right there. He's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. All he's done is won in the NFL. He's been a little injury prone, Chad, but if you look at his resume so far, now that he has a ring, I hope he gets some of the respect that he does deserve. He's a really good quarterback, man.
He is. String guy, just to give you some props, big dog. Says, hi, Chad and Zach. It was fun. It was a fun watch for me and my Chiefs hating friends for our Super Bowl party. Awesome, nice. Dude. Glad to hear it. And Cooper, I'm sure Nick was just like geeking out, dude. So stoked for his Iowa boy, Cooper DeJean. Mike says should be the Super Bowl MVP on his birthday. That's right. It was his birthday. Really cool to see him get to eat tonight, Zach.
Yeah, he's another tremendous. They've made a couple great investments at cornerback with Quinion Mitchell as well. Howie Roseman is just a mad genius over there in Philadelphia with the roster he's constructed, and I'm glad he got a ring too. He's a top end GM.
But there are some interesting players that we saw tonight that are going to be free agents. Zach has highlighted 2 of them in Zach Bond, the Eagles linebacker who had that terrific interception, and the phenomenal Nick Bolton, linebacker of the Chiefs. But Eric had a nice article last night, a few other guys to just kind of keep an eye on that we saw tonight as far as marching into the offseason. Kenneth Gainwell, the Eagles running back. All right. CJ Uzoma, the tight end, Philly. Just these are guys possible that could fill needs, right? That's what you do with free agency. I'm really interested in this particular idea. Justin Reed, Chiefs safety. And then let me see, Milton Williams, Eagles defensive lineman. Every one of those names I just mentioned, Zach, are going to be free agents. It'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs do with Nick Bolton, and then obviously how things shake out with Zach Bond.
Well, I like Kenneth Gainwell on that list, if only because he fills what Sean Payton would want. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. He can run the ball. He has some wiggle, and he could be a lot cheaper of an option and not dissuade Denver from going running back in the first or the second. Put it this way, Chad, would I like Kenneth Gainwell and let's say Ashton Jeanty in the first round or Travion Henderson in the second round more than I would like Aaron Jones and some running back in the sixth round, excuse me? Yes, I would. So Gainwell definitely does intrigue me on a short-term, low-risk option.
I would be surprised, man, if the Chiefs let Nick Bolton go. I mean, he was their second-round pick in 2021. He's only 24. His 4 years in the league, he's 446 tackles, 5 sacks, a lot of pass breakups. No individual accolades though. Like other than he made like, hey, PFWA all rookie team, and he's got 2 rings. Accolades aren't there, but he's a guy I would love to see in Denver. He's a really good player, dude. He's one of the reasons that defense is as good as it is.
I could definitely see him staying with the hometown team and trying to run it back for a chance at a title. Probably the best bet for him, Chad, and still get a fair amount of money. But if he does get out of Kansas City's reaches, I would love the Broncos, again, to make a competitive offer because him in the middle would solve a lot of their problems on defense.
Thank you, String Guy. Right back at you, big dog. Arlie says, hopefully no more State Farm commercials. Yeah, we shall see, big dog. Yeah, so hit us with any of your. I'm just going to scroll through. There's so many reactions we haven't grabbed here, Zach. Let's give some people some opportunity here. Leroy, exactly. Milton Williams, a free agent this season for the Eagles. Broncos should go after him to shore up the D line. Exactly. So he did force a fumble tonight for what it's worth. He had 4 tackles, and 2 sacks, Zach. So, hey, you're going to lose DJ Jones. By the way, I didn't know this. Eric Trickle today, article, DJ Jones, free agency, kind of like, what do? Do you try and keep him? Do you let him hit the bricks? Spot Rack has his estimated value this offseason at $11 million. And I'll remind you, the Broncos overpaid 3 years, $30 million. So they're saying that 3 years later, after not playing at a level commensurate with his contract, he's worth more money. I mean, maybe inflation is to explain there. I don't know. But I would rather the Broncos go after Milton Williams than try and compete. If the market really is trying to pay him 11, I think it's going to be more like 6-7 million. And if that's the case, he'd be a reasonable guy to bring back, but I would be kicking down this guy's door, dude.
That's another instance where you spit all these numbers into an Excel spreadsheet and it spits out a randomized, generalized. You know what I'm saying, Chad? So I think when you add the human element to the negotiations and in reality, it'll come closer to the number that you mentioned. Anyone should be smart to grab from that Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. They are a force, probably the best group in the NFL.
Is this true that Mahomes' grandfather passed away 2 hours before kickoff?
I didn't hear that.
I don't know if we're being trolled right now by Chuck. And I don't recognize you, Chuck. Hold on now.
I feel like they would have mentioned that during the game.
Exactly. Don't you think? Oh, hold on. This is from Fox News a day ago. Patrick Mahomes' grandpa reportedly hanging on in hospice care to watch his grandson play in the Super Bowl. So that's unfortunate. It's his, let's see. His grandfather, Randy, who's in hospice care. I'm just trying to see if there's any further information. But yeah, that is a bummer. That's too bad. I feel for him, dude. But I'm still glad the Chiefs lost. What do you want me to tell you?
I echo that one. Yeah, Hurts got MVP, Phil. Well deserved. It's a quarterback award, and that's why the Cooper Kupp winning it a few years ago was so surprising. But Jaylen had a good game. Can't say much more than that.
Definitely. Okay, let me see here. Where are we at? We'll probably keep it pretty tight tonight, guys, since we got such a late start. So anything burning topics, and thank you for that, Phil. Get it in the chat. By the way, Zach, did you hear that Debo Samuel requesting a trade from the San Francisco 49ers? What do you think? Do you think the Broncos would be interested in Debo?
No, based on what Sean Payton told you himself, that he doesn't think wide receiver is as big of a need. These were his own words to Kay Adams a few days ago. As some other people think, he mentioned running back and tight end. And Debo, on its face, he was a good player in San Francisco, but you have to wonder if maybe his prime is now behind him. He would cost a fair penny in trade value, and his contract. He's kind of a cancerous attitude too, similar to a Devontae Adams. No, build through the draft, save your money, save your draft picks, and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and especially with the way Sean Payton decided to start using Marvin Mims this past season, and it worked, man. You could do a lot of those same things that Debo does, and not to say that Debo is no longer an ascending player, but he's about to change a big thing, leaving a system, the only system of which he's succeeded in the NFL up to this point. And meanwhile, Mims is like just getting started in that ascension. So I'll see if I can find the specific thing that Peyton said about him in that Up and Adams podcast, but it was eye opening. They're stoked on Marvin Mims, dude. And, also two years in the league, 2-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All Pro, granted as a returner, but the amount of production he had the second half of the season, he's going to be a big part of the offense next year.
And Sean didn't mention them by name, but he said the rookie class, he interrupted Kay Adams and said the Broncos had a strong rookie class. That includes Devon Vele and Troy Franklin. And that, I think, is shaping Sean's opinion when you add Marvin Mims into that mix. And as Jason Bonnie said in the chat, Luther Burden is Debo 8 years younger. And that's kind of the point. Whether he will or won't be is kind of immaterial here. The point is that you can find a younger, cheaper version of a Debo, whoever it is, in the draft and save yourself a lot of headache.
Now, Scott has a good point about Debo. Yes, he's 29. All right. And yes, we have like a similar but less proven kind of player in Marvin Mims. But Sean Payton, the one thing he's like, look, we're better at wide receiver than people think. And we're happier with our receiving core than like the general perception of what's happening or what the general perception of our receiving core is. The one thing he said, and he made it clear too, helping people to understand exactly when he says, I'm looking for a joker, he specified what that is. It's either a tight end or a running back who can catch passes and help the team exploit the short middle of the field. And Scott does bring up that point. Zach, Debo, I mean, great candidate to be a joker. He's listed as a wide receiver, but we know he carries the ball quite a lot.
I just want to pull up his contract really quickly to see. He's on a $71.5 million deal, 3-year deal. Spot track would load faster. Okay, so he's entering a contract year or a void year in 2026. If he wants to be a full-time running back at this stage of his career, Chad, then okay for a 6th round, 5th round flyer, whatever, but they still need a full-time running back in addition to a full-time tight end. I just don't know if Debo is going to fill that role for Denver.
So for what it's worth, he had 51 receptions this past season in 15 games that he started, 670 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then as a ball carrier, 42 rushes, 136 yards, and a touchdown. It's one of his less productive rushing seasons of the past 4. But it's an interesting, it just kind of depends on, they gave him permission to seek the trade, but it's kind of, in my opinion, once again, it always boils down to what's the ask going to be? What are the Niners looking to get for him? If it's reasonable, if it's not like, give us, a first and a second, then it's definitely a conversation worth exploring, but it's not in the same vein of, and I'm not even for this, but like going out and actually dropping some premium draft picks to get a Garrett Wilson or a player of that caliber on the boundary. So it will be interesting to see what his value is, Zach.
Yeah, I was going to say we all have our biases as to who the Broncos should go after. Cooper Kupp, Garrett Wilson, Debo Samuel. There's available names out there, but what it boils down to is I don't think, and this is my belief, the Broncos are going to be in on. They'll check on the trades. They'll be in the conversations, but I don't think they're going to pull the trigger, Chad. I think they like where they are genuinely at receiver, and they're going to see how the board falls in April.
You got Mims for 2 more years locked. Sutton's hitting a contract year. They'll probably do something for him this summer, is my guess. Devon Vele had himself, people sleep on just how impactful Vele was, especially relative to that receiving or the rookie wide receiver draft class. pardon me, he was one of the most productive receivers out of the 2024 draft class, and he was a 7th-round pick, and he was a number 2. So his upside could be a lot higher than we perhaps even see right now. Brendacho, brother, thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Brendacho.
generous super chat from the top rope saying, gentlemen, what a 30-day run. 38-0 and 40 to 20, 38-0, 40 to 22. 2025 is shaping up to be a wonderful year. Can't wait for this offseason and the 2025 regular season. I know, man. We've been at MHH, we've been living the offseason life now since the Broncos headed home from that Buffalo game, and we're just getting started. Zach and I, we're going to be at the Combine later this month. It's going to be a gas. We'll be there to pick up all the news, all the rumors, and then, of course, what's going down, the actual Combine itself. But one of the great things, Zach, about going to the Combine is all the kind of rumors and the buzz you pick up being there, covering it as media. So we'll be sure to pass on as much of that information as we can to our great community when we get there.
Yes, sir. I was going to say the fun just starts now, and what adds to it is knowing that we go into the offseason with a Chiefs Super Bowl blowout loss, ending their chance at a three-peat.
That's right. Let's go. Let's momentum this thing, baby.
Sure.
Todd Ostendorf, what's up, bro? Thank you for the super chat. It says Broncos need to address the D-line, tight end, receiver, running back. So Loveland, Henderson, Hampton, Egbuka could be's. Definitely, maybe. And Egbuka, yeah, I mean, Eric floated him as a potential, hey, if Genty's gone, Warren's gone, Loveland's gone at 20, Egbuka as a possible alternative for pick 20. Really interesting wide receiver. So, yeah, those are some good names, and I don't disagree with you. I would maybe pick Nitz in, if that's your order of priority, I would maybe pick Nitz in that. But, yeah, dude, right there, don't forget about linebacker, though, too.
I really like all these players that you mentioned here, Todd. Henderson maybe in the 2nd round. Egbuka, if the Broncos also, Chad, maybe a 20, or if they move down a few spots and still feel like they can nab him, that might be a realistic scenario as well. I happen to think Loveland will be there, though, and it's a matter of if the Broncos want him enough to pull the trigger.
I do, too. The more that kind of time marches on. But there's still some big steps left to go in the pre-draft trail, including the Combine, including pro days and all that. So he has a chance to improve his draft stock, but he also, Zach, could, maybe hurt it a little bit. Depends on how he performs and all that stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting article, the Pub today. I mean, just a couple other non-running back, non-tight end options at 20. You got, again, linebackers in need, Zach. Jihad Campbell from Alabama, inside linebacker, rangy guy, a lot of upside there. You've got the guy that Scott and I were gushing about, interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel, stud. He's going to be one of those guys that Pro Bowler, All-Pro, plays 12, 13 years in the league. Emanwari, this safety from South Carolina. Safety also is a need position. In fact, Sean Payton, I don't know how much of that was him trolling or not trolling, but doing the trade craft aspect of pre-draft, football espionage. But he said needs, he talked about must, needs, and wants and all that. And he was qualifying it with Kay Adams. And when he was talking about needs, Zach, he talked about the defense, in the middle of the defense, specifically mentioning linebacker and safety. So Emanwari is an option. Egbuka, Ohio State receiver. And then he also throws in here Walter Nolan, defensive lineman from Ole Miss. We also got a look at him. So just got to be a player that can be a foundational guy for you moving forward, regardless of the position. So we'll see how the board falls.
I think the Broncos are going to try to take care of inside linebacker and safety on the open market. Pro Football Focus linked the Broncos to Robert Spillane, former Raiders inside linebacker. At safety, there's Javon Holland from Miami. There's Hufanga from the Niners, who I'm a big fan of if he could just stay healthy. I think the Broncos are going to go in there and then use the draft to maybe draft the best offensive player available or overall player available. Nick Emanwari at safety, Chad. If they don't address that, that's another guy like possibly in the 1st round.
Same here big time. Okay, guys, we're about 40 minutes. We're doing okay. Who's the later tight end after Loveland? Arroyo, Julian, good question. Arroyo's one of them. Scott and I watched him really do well at the Senior Bowl. But my guy that actually impressed me the most amongst the tight ends. Now, this is just watching it with the naked eye, right? Like Scott has also gone through, because we're both filming stuff. He was filming 100% of the time, and I would film like, what do you think, Scott? Like 70% of the time? I don't know. Once it got to the meaningful stuff, either way. But he's gone through and he's analyzed literally every single clip that was captured from either one of those, which gives you more, those cameras, which gives you more of a focus, right, on the individual players in a drill or even in team period. And I got to tell you, Jake Brenningstool, Clemson tight end, that dude, I love him. The two guys, the three guys, well, I'll include Zabel. So 4 guys that really stoked me out was Brenningstool, Jarquez, the running back from Auburn, Darius Alexander, Zabel. I'm trying to think of, there's a few others if I really put my thinking cap on it, but I've been focused on the Super Bowl. So some options there though. And Fanning is an option for the Broncos at tight end. This is a very deep tight end class, guys.
Yeah, we could all pick nits as to who is tight end 3 or how we rank the tight ends here. I like Arroyo a lot, Chad. He's such a fluid pass catcher. He has enough speed where he can do damage in the open field. He can be a down-the-seam weapon for Bo Nix. If they wanted to wait a few rounds before going tight end, that would be my guy for sure.
Also, Jason Taylor, the Hall of Famer, and the guy who literally stole Defensive Player of the Year from Champ Bailey in 2005. His son from LSU is also highly regarded, very good tight end that is super athletic. And he's got some Taylor genes, and he's also got some, what's his name? Zach, the linebacker at Miami, the short guy, made the Hall of Fame.
Zach Taylor?
No.
Zach Thomas, sorry.
Thomas. Yeah. Thank you. So if I remember right, his father is Jason Taylor. His mother is Zach Thomas's sister. Pretty sure of that. So the dude's got the bloodlines run strong with this Mason Taylor kid out of LSU. But thank you, Ron. Great late night show. Chad and Zach, Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Yes, indeed, guys. This is your 2-minute warning. We got a couple messages for you. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Zach Thomas. We got a few messages for you, and then we're going to dip. So this is your last call for any burning topics, questions, super.
Yeah, Taylor Thomas sounds like a home improvement episode, but this wasn't a home improvement episode. This was another fantastic episode of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and don't forget about Scott, our producer at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. Really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Hey, Nate Davis, welcome to the manger, homie. Thank you for the compliments. Appreciate you. Jason, I'm not sure what podcast, but I don't really care. But he says a certain other podcast said Arroyo and Ferguson were the best tight ends at the Senior Bowl. Listen, on one hand, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. On the other, I wonder if they were there. And if they were there, it'd be fun to have a conversation. Go, well, wait a minute. Did you just see what my guy Brenningstool is doing? Like, holy smokes, that dude was legit. But I would agree that Arroyo, I would honestly say it was Arroyo and the Clemson kid, Brenningstool, were my favorites at tight end while we were there. But guys, a mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, celebrating the Philadelphia Eagles straight stiff arming the Chiefs grab at a three-peat. Denied and with gusto. Shouts to David Youngkin. Love you, big dog. The Papa Bear, love you. Taylor Christensen, love you. The GLP, legendary, love you. The Ronk, legend, love you. Patriot Tex, bro. I'm glad we're finally connected on X, by the way, Tex. So that's been fun. Colby C, good to see you, bro. Thank you. George Fox, Zach, getting after it. You're just now known as 40 Shots. That's just your name now, dude. Here on the podcast. Phil McLaughlin, one of my good buddies MHH family, Chris Hernandez, love you, bro. Mr. Rocket, Jason Kopp. Let's see, Todd Ostendorf, Brent Dacho in the hizzy. And if we missed anyone, we love you. We'll make it up to you. But great show. Love you guys. Zach and I, we're back in the saddle tomorrow night, Monday night. It's going to be a gas. Can't wait to see you then.
Have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.